Hello, RevHeads. Welcome back to part 2 of the 700 Big Bore series. Just a quick note. At the end of part 1, we mentioned we'd be showing some machining in this episode, but I decided not to do that. The pistons that'll ship in our kits are production pistons, manufactured to our specifications. They are not pistons we modify in-house, and we didn't want to create any confusion or give the impression that we're hand machining every piston. All the components that you see in this episode reflect the exact same dimensions we specified to have our kit pistons manufactured. If you saw the whole process, you'd understand it's far too labor intensive to be practical. That said, we did film the entire process of wheel checking clearances and machining the prototypes. So if that's something you'd like to see, let us know in the comments, and we'll release that footage towards the end of the series. Everybody clear? All right, let's get this thing back together.
Double checked everything, checked all the measurements. We've got everything cleaned up and ready to assemble. So now it's time to get after it. But before we do, I thought I'd point out this is representative now of what our 700 kit is going to be. This was the last prototype set of pistons for the sort of production 700 kit, and now that we've worked through all this, we do know our final dimensions for our production 700s, and we're ready to order up the final batch of pistons. So this bike is going to be very representative of what we'll be selling as just the standard 700 kit. It's going to be up around 11.1 compression, and it will effectively be the same price as a high compression 650 kit plus the price of boring. And we intentionally sent this cylinder out to a machine shop just to have it done to see what kind of result we got and what it was going to cost us. This boring both of these cylinders was less than the price of machining one big bore cylinder with liner. So it's substantially less than half the price of doing the 750 and 865 kits with sleeves, just because of the extra machining of sleeves. So this is going to be a very affordable kit. One thing I do want to point out, because we got questions about it as we were working through, and the machinist even asked, "Hey, wait a minute, what about this?" These cylinders are cast iron liners, and you can see the line between the cast iron and the alloy. And that is correct. We've bored this out, but that hasn't changed from a standard cylinder. You can see this is a standard cylinder that we just cleaned up. The board hasn't been touched, but you can see the alloy is there. The cast iron liner only comes up so high. And if you get a light in there, hold on, you can probably even see the print. Well, you can see the print in that liner where this is the top of where the rings came to. So there's the top of your ring travel, and that's still 4 millimeters or so below the edge of this, where this cast iron separates from the alloy. So that's just so you know, when you see that, that's not something wrong. That's the way it's supposed to be. Now let's take a look at actually putting this thing back together. Before we are able to put pistons all on, we're going to have to be able to hold the crankshaft. Plus, this bike's going to have to get a clutch. We know that these kits make more torque than the stock clutches are going to hold. So we're going to be putting a Barnett clutch in this bike. And we need that clutch cover off so that we can hold the crank to put the pistons on, and so we can put the top dead center tool in it to do the cam timing. And this bike has been very recently serviced and has nice clean oil in it. So we're going to drain that oil, save it, and reuse it. And then in 500 or 1,000 kilometers, we'll do another oil change just to double check things about this job. All right. Oh, screws are out this. case you're wondering, this is wax and grease remover. Just automotive paint wax and grease remover that I'm using here. Base gaskets. It's looking pretty good right about there. So those two are in line with each other. Hello. Actually, looks like I missed it. The gasket surface all cleaned up. Now we're ready to assemble this piston cylinder assembly. And we're going to have to start by identifying the pistons and which direction they go. We've already laid it out. This is left, that's the right. Cylinders in the same orientation. On these pistons, because we've cut the top off, there's no mark that says, arrow that says forward. These do have offset piston pins, so you have to be sure to put them in the right direction. And on these pistons, this cutout for the piston pin clip is always on the intake side. So that means this piston is going to need a clip in here first. So let's open up one of these bags of clips. And we just start by putting the inside clip in both pistons first. That is so. There we go. Inside clip, snap right in. And same thing for this one.
That was a very reassuring noise.
Reassuring click. All right, now we want to assemble the rings. Start with an oil ring expander. We'll see those intake side. First gap is there. Let's put this one. More of that.
And then just again, like proper ring gaps and installation, we cover in our pro tips video, if you want to see that, where we get into a bit more detail.
Well, this markings on it. Markings go up the second ring. That second ring end gap's going to go right about there. Like so. Top one. Let's. I swear there were markings on these rings. Oh, yep, there they are. Pretty faint. There they are. Oops. Wait, that one's ready? Where?
I'm definitely not going to speed up this part in editing because I think it's remarkable how fast you can do that.
Okay, so those are ready. Now we're going to try something a little different. We were at the Rollies trade show a couple of weeks ago and we ran into the Spectro Oil fellow who gave us a few samples of this stuff and said, oh, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And it may well be. Now, if you've watched our videos, you know that I generally assemble engines using the oil that's going to be in the engine. But I'm not necessarily diametrically opposed to assembly lube, not at all. I've used a lot of it over the years. And this says, when applied to rings, cam lobes, gears, and bearings, it coats and plates, completely assuring total starting protection. Compatible with all Spectro lubricants and other petroleum-based products. Spectro Assembly lubricant exhibits anti-rust properties for prolonged storage of engine or transmission parts. So, see what it looks like, how it feels, what it does. Says rings, so let's give it a go. That's just, oh my, yeah, that's kind of a more. And we might just, that is a little gooier than just engine oil. Give that a little drink. So I've got exhaust side. We're just going to use a standard automotive ring compressor. Should work just fine for this. All right, so let's try a little more. Oh, that. Oil ring. There we go. Also, zoom that arms a little bit. Oh, we got an end gap right there. That's why. There we go. There. Nah. Nice and smooth. And we did clean the cylinder base up. I'm going to see if I can get any more of that. This one's standing a little taller for me. And then to bend over. And my pin's in.
Yeah.
Good.
7, yep.
Then I'll actually see what I do. Shit. There's a long button up there. Let's straight in. Tell me how that works. Okay. Got your side, Rick? You back. This side, no. Yes, it's still good. I'm down here. There we go. Clean as a whistle. And stand right here and I'll turn it over. Oh, gotta take the fire gun. Pull the lock off of it. Alright, slip the tool in there. There you go. Grab that cam chain tensioner. You got the chain. Actually, let's put this under it. Now, so we are just taking extra care to be sure we have sealant around all of the oil carrying holes. We're not really so much worried about the combustion chamber, but basically we try to get a relatively even coat on everything. And we're just going to hang that up there for a few minutes and let it, if it's going to drip, we'll let it drip. And we need to let that tack up before we install. Now the cylinder head gasket is all cured and ready to go in. We're ready to put the cylinder head on, but we need the dowel pins out of the cylinder head in the cylinder because it's really pretty difficult to put that head gasket on the cylinder and get this in with the pins in the head. These pins are almost always stuck in the head, so you need to get those out. What you don't want to do is grab these with pliers and try to twist them and pull them out, or grab them this way with a smaller set of pliers and try and twist them and pull them out. There are some, you can buy some fancy pin remover tools, but I'm not a big fan of tools that grab dowel pins from the outside in any form to pull on. The whole function of this pin depends on its precision fit into the cylinder and the head, and that fits on the outside. My preferred method to get these out is with one of these. It's just an extractor. And usually it doesn't take any, you don't have to drive it in. See what you just twist it. Sometimes they won't stay and you want to twist it and give it a little pull. If it don't stay, just give it just a little tap. It don't take much. So you're not altering the dimension of that pin at all. and you got it out without damaging the outside of it at all. So, little shop tip. Now I'm stuck a little tighter. Just turn it and put a little tension up on it. Yeah, this one's quite a bit tighter, which is pretty normal. You see, that one's been hot. That one had some combustion from the temperature getting to it from the previous leaking head gasket. All right. That one, nice and clean. This one had a little combustion chamber temperature getting to it. So we just set those in the cylinder. Then we can put this gasket. And you got long side, short side, dowel pin hole there and there. This gasket can be put on wrong. And when you do put these on backwards, you can flip that over and turn it around. It will still fit on there, but this will be here, which is too far out, and this will be there, which is too far in. You almost certainly get an oil leak. So that's all ready to go. Now we just need to set the cylinder head on, which is a little tricky with the real estate, but get it centered up. Get that cam chain tensioner in. Got to get this wire down out of the way and line those dowel pins up. There's one dowel pin. And there's the other one.
Much easier to do with 4 hands.
Yeah, 4 hands helps. That's also in the way. We don't this. Be sure those aren't jammed up. We can actually let that go now. That's on the pin over here. It's on the pin over there. There we go. The head's sitting down. So now we're ready to get these fresh studs ready to go. And to do that, we just need to oil them up. We'll have to refill our oil can here before long.
I don't know if we mentioned it on disassembly, but this bike already had the SNS cam.
Right.
So we haven't had to assemble the springs with the shims. That's already been done.
Good point. All right. Now, where did my, oh, there it is. Righto, the head's all tightened down. Everything's all buttoned up, ready to go. We're going to put the cam in. We'll try a little of this Spectro engine lube, assembly lube on the cam lobes, just because we can. Get the magnet out, pick that cam chain up. There we go. And slide the cam back in. Like so. Meet this left cylinder top dead center mark in place. I'm wind this gear around so we can put the bolts at. Maybe one more. About there. Pop. Oh, I didn't clean up the cam bolts. Let me do that right quick and get some red Loctite on them. Cam bolts all nice and clean with a little red Loctite on. And we're going to, so you come around and have a look at this mark. We've got the L mark. So we've got the top dead center tool in it. And that L mark is right in the center of that cylinder head gasket surface. So I'm going to snug that. And then first we've got to let this, we've got to let the chain adjuster go and put tension on this chain before we tighten that cam down. So there's that. All right, now the chain's got tension on it. Marks all lined up. Now we can, where's my gun? Excuse me. Oh, I'm just going to hit this with about 18 foot-pounds of torque just to hold it while I roll it over. Still looking good. Let's go pull your top dead center tool out. And I'm just going to roll this over so that I can get this bolt in. And we'll just run this one down. All right, now we'll get a torque wrench. Line this tool up over there to hold it. Oh, you want me to do that? Yeah.
Sorry, it's just hard to look through the lens.
Kind of hard to hold that and do this at the same time. I actually got to back that cam up just a little bit. Just touch that so it don't fall off. Oh yeah, I do need it. This isn't lined up. Back that up just a smidge. So that'll go down flush. All right, and just hold it down while I torque this 35 Newton meters. Okay, pull it out. It's going to come up. Like that. Now, take that. That should line up right along in there. All right, keep it pushed in. There we go. All right, you can pull it out. Here, let me wiggle it. There you go. Okay, now put your TDC tool back in. There. And just verify that timing mark. Yep, she's spot on. All right, so you can pull the TDC tool out now. We can put this one on. The beauty of this assembly is that it was already set up and adjusted to this cam before, so we don't actually have to do anything. We'll check the adjustment, but I don't expect we'll have to do anything with it. It will almost certainly just Torque those down. There. Yeah. Just check those right quick. Intakes are perfect at 10. And the exhaust, spot on at 20. This one might be, that one could be a smidge tighter. Let's tension that one just a little. So that one's good. So we'll just tension this one to match. There we go. Now, there we go. Peachy. Right there. To the other side. Beautiful. And that one might be a little, no, actually that's, a little snug, but there's a 20 there. Sorry. Yeah, that is a little snug. Let's see if an 18 will go. No, that one's too tight. So one little loose. Let's go back to 20. Beauty. All right. Okay, so this is, everything's all tightened down. We're ready to put this cover gasket or the cylinder head cover on. It is really easiest if you can get it to clearance and go in to leave this gasket or get the gasket into the cover. You can put the gasket on the cylinder head and work the cover onto it, but it's quite a bit more problematic. So if you can get the gasket to stay in the cover, that's the easiest way to do this. You know, best laid plans, mice and men. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you should be able to ease that cover in like so, line it right up on this surface over here, and set it down gently. If you line up the inside tabs of this one like so, it should go on like butter. And then, so there are the 4 bolts and seals. And this down just a little bit. And then let's double check, be sure that whole gasket is in fact lined up. Yep. All right, there we go. Now push these back in. There we go. Yep, those are all lined up. On this side, yep. Tighten up the throttle body clamps. All right. On 10-inch pounds. Yeah. Which now means I can shove these back in there. Powertronic modulators. Sounds easy. Let's put them in from this side. There we go. That's a ticky. So much easier. Where's the bar? There you go. One down, one to go. Easy peasy. Right, now we're ready to button up everything else. We'll start with these top motor mounts, then do the ABS bracketry. Be sure everything's plugged back in. We've got to put spark plugs back in it. Horns back on, exhaust system on. Still have to do the clutch. Let's get these motor mounts in. The right side motor mount is easy, top motor mount. You just slide it in, start a couple bolts in it. Sounds easy, there it is. The left side is a little more involved because you've got to get this map switch. Actually, I suppose I should push this hose back through before we get much deeper. Because he hasn't done a secondary air bypass on this thing, and we are going to continue to run the O2 sensors. So that goes back through there. Now this motor mount, we have to get this map hose through this grommet. And that whole thing, actually it looks like I need to come on this side of that wiring harness. Push that hose through that grommet. There we go. And then we can start these two bolts. I'm not going to connect that hose until after I have the center bolt in, just because the hose is right in the way. It makes it more difficult to handle the washer. So I'm going to leave this hose disconnected for now, and we'll sneak this bolt through from this side. And nothing washer on this side. Actually, I'm going to snug these two down, makes it a little easier. Sort of hold that bracket over there where I need it. Not tight, just snug.
Had to hold your tongue right.
Yep. I gotta get you to hold that for me. So we're just gonna run this down snug first so that everything's all lined up. Then we're gonna run these down. Crank them down. $35 Newton meters. You laugh, that's exactly what's on. All right, you got it?
Got it.
Go up one. There we go. 50 Newton meters. All right, now we've got, don't forget to reconnect all this stuff. So first you got this hose over here. This map switch hose goes right down there. with this fuel injector that we disconnected to be able to get to the fuel line. It's got to go back on. And we've got this ignition coil that we disconnected when we raised this ABS bracket. That's got to go back. These horn wires need to come back down. Actually, we can put the plugs back in it now. Alright. Oh, we put this back in. Put the cap on. Oh, we disconnected both coil wires. You always just want to be sure you've got a good connection between the cap and the wire. Anytime they've run for a while, it's not a bad idea to give them one more turn. It's like the end of that cap's like a wood screw that screws up into the coil wire. Actually, so now it's exhaust and the clutch, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do the clutch. I thought that before we start this job, I just mentioned that several years ago we did a clutch video, and at that time the only clutch available was the Recluse. And that's a really good clutch, and we're still using that clutch in all our race bikes and all our big motors with big valve heads and big throttle bodies and all that. But for several years now, we've been using these Barnett clutches in most of the 865 kits that we do with stock heads and throttle bodies. These things will hold the torque that you're going to make with an 865 and stock head and throttle bodies. So, and we've used, oh God, who knows how many of them in the last several years. And they seem to be working really well when some of our drag racers are racing with these in 865 motors, just so you know. And it's about half the price of a Recluse. You definitely want to bring these out in stages, because early on we had a fellow that was putting his own clutch in, and he went to put one of these back together and took one screw and drove it all the way to the bottom and broke this little ear right off his clutch hub. So you definitely want to stagger those. Get that out of the way. Let's take this whole pack out. So now this clutch has been, God, I don't know how many seasons at the drag strip, at least 2 or 3 seasons at the drag strip. In a stock motor, it has been run hard, put away wet. Although I will say Tristan maintains it, the bike's been very well maintained, but nonetheless, and that clutch doesn't smell bad. None of the seal plates are burnt. It's actually all, I bet if we measure it, the stack up is probably still pretty good. That's a real testament. That stock clutch has held up very well for the abuse it's had and the time that it's been in there. Now, the other really critical things you have to look at that wasn't, when we did that clutch video, we didn't have enough, there wasn't enough time on these bikes to know this, but we've had several since. Kind of a weak spot in this clutch is the material that this and that hub's made out of. This one is lovely, right? It's nice and smooth and there's no ridge or anything. If you give me just a second, I think I can find one. And here is one that is not so lovely. This, you can see that ridge that's worn into both the hub and the pressure plate. That will let a plate go all the way up so that it's off the friction material, and that sharp ridge will actually touch the plate up here and the clutch will just stop working. So anytime we replace clutches, you have to really pay attention. This should look like this, not like that. If you got one that looks like this, don't try to put a clutch in it and reuse it. Now, having said that, we'll move right along. All of his stuff looks like it's in really pretty good nick. The other thing you're looking for is these little nickies in the clutch basket. This has got a little bit of wear in it, but it's not awful. If these wear to the point that they've actually got steps in there, they can make it difficult for the clutch to disengage. This one is okay, so we're going right back together. So with this Barnett clutch, I need my scissors. With this Barnett clutch, it comes with everything you need except this one odd man out steel plate. You have to use this steel plate out of the original clutch. But the rest of it is in the kit. Instructions, new springs, new set of steel plates, your Barnett equipped sticker, and this one tells you that plate's different, use it. So now, before we put this in, we're just going to put these friction plates back in there, drop a little oil on them and let them sit for a little bit. Twin. There we go. Now those have soaked a little bit, let's assemble it. So we start with the spring and washer that are on that clutch hub haven't moved, so I don't need to do anything with them. So first, there are two different plates here. You can see that. These go in first, the first one in and the last two out. And then the thicker ones go in between. So there's that one. You got sharp side, round side on this clutch. It disengages going out, so we're going to put the round side out. And then we want the bigger ones stacked. Oops, between there. And that's the last fat one. And one more skinny one. And then and then I got this last big steel plate. Whoops, nope, hang on. Steel plate goes between them. Duh. And then this one. Okay. Now, this point is caused a lot of confusion and a lot of discussion, a lot of conversations carrying on. The reality is, so now this last plate goes against the pressure plate, and then this goes in on top of it. And in the stock clutch, they have you put that together such that this is in this in-between tine. The reality is, I can't find any practical reason that matters at all, because this is turning these plates at exactly the same rate. There's no difference between putting that here and putting that in these spoons whatsoever. So you can perfectly safely and the recluse clutch is all assembled this way. They have to. And there's no reason that you can't just assemble this the same way. I'm interested to hear your perspective, but I don't think you're going to convince me that there's anything about having this in there versus here that makes any difference at all. And I don't think it matters. So that'll start a bunch of chatter anyway. So the Barnett springs, even though, they are only just a little bit longer, they are quite a bit heavier. We measured them. I don't remember the number now, but it was quite a few pounds more pressure. So they are definitely a stronger spring. You definitely want to use them. And this is the point where, if you're not careful, you can break things. So you're just going to run these down gently and ease the spring pressure onto them. And this is also a place where you probably don't want to just rely on the gun. I mean, I will, because this gun will pretty reliably with a hot battery put 110 inch-pounds on it, but we're just going to check it just for practice. Moved a little bit. There we go. All right. So that's it. Clutch is in. Now we just need ourselves a clutch cover gasket, which is right here. All right. And that's oily mess.
We should say we've already cleaned the gasket surfaces.
We have already cleaned the cover and all the gasket surfaces on the engine. Covering up my oil. Now these gaskets is another spot. These have a spot of sealant on them that is meant to go right on the split in the crankcase and, to some degree, hold that gasket in place. I'm going to put this gasket on clean and dry. Oh, hang on. There it is. Get that pin to line up. There we go. There we go. Sometimes these want to be a little floppy.
I feel like every time that's my least favorite.
There you go. Yeah. This one's going to flop, so I'm going to cheat.
I'll just get the cover.
Just going to put a couple little spots on it. Keep it stuck. There we go. Yep, that's all lined up real nice. Now, when you go to put this cover on, a couple of tricks. First is this has to be in that orientation. It needs to be straight so that it can engage with this. All right, that's got to go over it. And the other thing is the orientation of this clutch arm. Now you can, generally speaking, you put that clutch arm around there somewhere. When it's on, and it will, when that gear engages with this thing, it will come around, right? So usually if you start around in there somewhere, you'll end up over here. It's supposed to be lined up with that mark with a cable in it. roughly. Now, if it doesn't, you don't take the cover on and off and on and off. If you miss it, you just pull this off these splines and move it one spline or the other, whichever way. And that sweet spot. I missed it, but that's all right. So there's that. Now you can do this. That'll hold that cover in there while you go get the screws that you forgot. Just give me any one of them. Well, I don't guess that'd do me any good. I forgot the tool too, so hang on. Yeah, so I'm not tightening any of these yet. Just run them all in. You cannot do this for a living effectively without ball Allen drivers. Isn't that a beautiful thing? All right, now to go back and torque those. Can't really get all of them, but you get most of them. This gun does very reliably bring them right to the torque they need to do. This one I can't get to. Well, just check it for practice. So now I've got to do this cable adjustment. We'll just start by seeing how far off we are. Okay, yep, we're gonna have to go one notch, which is easy enough. This out. Just wiggle that guy off. And go one more notch. Oh, no, that's one too far. Oh, that one, there it is. Oh. There we go. So you should be able to just hook that. Put this guy back in. All right. So now your starting place is really pretty simple with these clutches. You just bring it until, oh, that's it. Put a little tension on it, run this nut down, give yourself a little bit of slack. You should be able, when it's adjusted, you should have a little bit there, and then we'll go up and do our final adjustment at the handlebar. Yep, this one's got an adjuster up there, so that'll do for a starting point. Two 12s. Okay, clutch is adjusted. Let's go ahead and pour the oil back in it. And then we'll put the exhaust on. Whoops, whoops. She's close. There we go.
The oil always gets caught in the handle on those bottles.
Yep. There's actually quite a bit.
It is. It's like a big reserve down there.
There's the last little bit. All right. See what that all level looks like after you run it a little bit. And now we're ready for the exhaust, so let's do it. First thing is new exhaust gaskets. These can be really tricky to get in, but we're going to put them in. You see these gaskets have got there's a line there where they're rolled around. So you want that against the head, this side out. And I like to put just a touch, and I mean just a touch of grease on these to hold them and put that at the top to hold those in the cylinder head while I'm putting the pipes on. Makes life a whole lot easier than trying to put them in there dry, because they do not want to stay. And that little bit of grease will burn away and you'll never know it was there. It won't leave any kind of traces or oil leaks or anything. It just works. Go grab a pipe. Okay. Just hang that there. There's my gun. There it is. All right. Oh,
that's the one the stud came out.
Whoops, this is the one the stud came out. That's okay. Let's show you what that looks like. I'm going to crimp on the big part of that stud so I'm not on the threads. And I'll do this by hand so I can feel it. Probably not a bad idea to a little bit of penetrant on there of some sort. Can't hurt. See if we can get this bad boy to let go. Oh yeah. That's pretty easy. Now these, let me sneak through here. That requires, I don't actually know what the technical name of these things is. One of those. Assuming I can get that stud to go through this flange, but even if it doesn't, yep, it does. So we're just going to line that up and get it started. And where did I put it? There it is. Again, I'm going to do this by hand so I can feel the threads. Nice and clean. All right, yep, that's going in good. All right, now the stud's back in the cylinder head. Now we can put nuts on them. Put it up a little bit. All right. And I'm just going to run all these down till they just touch. Where did my 12s go? All right. So everything should be lined up. Nice now. These I want to feel. It's not as much about the torque as it is about feeling that gasket hit the bottom. All right. Now, after you run the engine a couple of 3 heat cycles, you want to go back and retension those 2 bolts because that gasket is going to crush a bit. And let's connect this. So you want to be sure when you're connecting these O2 sensors again, you got a yellow tag on the wire, right, that you can see right there, and a green one. Left cylinder is green, or right cylinder is yellow. So there's that one. Slide that back. And now we're ready for the other side. Repeat all this. Rinse and repeat. Now the exhaust system's done. It's just the last little tidying things up. Put the horns on, ABS bracket back down, a couple of zip ties, and we're ready to put the fuel tank on. I'm gonna do one across these horn wires. At least I think I am. There it is. One to capture that coil wire and these horn wires and keep it off the rocker cover. And we'll just tie it to that hose. Easy way. It's easier than going back to this ABS bracket, which is kind of painful. Plenty of room there. And then another little one around this bundle right here. Keep everything relatively tidy and off the exhausts. There we go, all tidied up. Ta-da. This horn, I think this is the one that we took this apart. It wasn't actually plugged in.
That's right.
So I'm just gonna double check to verify that the connectors snap and feel good. That one definitely does. Yep, they both snap real nice, so nothing wrong with the connectors. They just maybe weren't pushed all the way back on last time. Rinse and repeat. Okay. We are coming down to the wire. It's on. That puppy down. And here's the beauty of putting all your hardware aside. That belongs on the cam chain tensioner. We missed it. So I'll stop right quick and put that in the end of the cam chain tensioner so we don't have oil coming out of there. And we've also still got this not connected. See how one thing leads to another.
That's the one you always forget to disconnect also.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be the first time I started one up with the engine temperature sensor not connected. When you do that, they don't want to run right when they're cold. Now let's just snug this up. That's it. Since I'm here, I might as well connect this. All right, engine temperature sensor is connected, so screws in this puppy.
Magnetic trays really are brilliant.
Magnetic trays are the way to go most of the time, unless you're dealing with stainless hardware. All right. Map sensors on, that's connected. Looks like we're ready for a fuel tank. All right, Tristan in his nice full fuel tank. Goes in. Oops, where did my wood block go? All right, now let's send this up. All right. So first is this fuel gauge. Right there, that's that. Then the fuel line, which may or may not reach with that tank all the way up. Looks like it will. We want to hear that click. See that? Huh? Then we're going to have to come down a little bit because we're going to get this electrical connector in and it will never reach all the way up there. That's connecting the fuel pump. And then you have the overflow line and the vent line.
Really?
You're almost there.
It's really hard to look through a camera.
Yeah, you can't hear. I'll get it. You can't see it. And
It's on.
you got it?
Yeah.
All right. So fuel gauge, overflow line, vent line, fuel pump wiring, and fuel line. Did I say fuel line twice? Oops, we're almost ready to light this thing up, but I need to move all these tools first, get them off the bench before we fire it, so they don't rattle around and fall off. And the only hardware we have left is the 2 tank bolts, which is a good sign. When you don't have hardware left over, that's always good.
Yes. That's the goal.
This bike was already very well tuned, and it was running a pretty consistent sort of 13.5 to 1 air-fuel ratio. It's a little on the fat side. So my expectation is that it should just start and run just fine with a CC increase. I mean, we'll need to tune it, but if anything, it'll be a little leaner than it was before, but I don't expect it'll go lean enough that it'll be above 14.5. So, all things being equal, I reckon we're ready to light it up.
Okay.
Let's just do a quick walk around. Wash my hands one more time. This is a ritual. I wash my hands, I get myself a coffee, and I just walk around and look at everything before I push that starter button. Because I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how many times you've done this job. Not long ago, I did one just a few weeks ago where I started it up with the map sensor hose still off, and I'm like, what's that? You know, so it happens. You have to pay attention, walk around when you're doing these things. It's easy to miss a little connector or leave something out. By that, I mean leave out a step. And what's bizarre about it is it always seems to happen in the last sort of, you know, while you're putting the pipes and the last wiring connectors and you're getting anxious to start it up. That's when you leave something disconnected. Plenty of oil in it. That's almost good. Yeah. Well, let's turn some fans on before we light this thing up. Rightio, folks, here we go. Woo, that's nice and quiet. That motor is quiet as it can be. Yep, that sounds all right. Oh, this thing. She's idling a little low. This thing's got two maps in it. I'm not sure which is which. It was set on map 2. I think map 2 is the go map. This is the street ride map, map 1. Building heat nice and even. We may have to work on the idling a little bit, but no check engine lights or anything, so all in all, she sounds pretty good. Where'd the thermometer go? Oh, there it is. Perfect. Too much. You beauty. There she is. Production ready, production level 700 kit, and a stock cylinder head, stock throttle bodies. Now, time to get this thing on the dyno, get it run in. We'll run it in on the dyno and then turn it loose, see what we can make with it. Stay tuned.